Hey everyone, welcome back. In our last video, we learned how to divide, which is one of the most important topics in math. In this video, we're going to be going over some problems that are very similar to what we learned before. The only difference is that in this video, we're going to be learning what to do when we are dividing and we have a remainder. Great, let's get started. But before we do, I just want you to keep in mind that this is going to be very easy and there's not much more you have to know in order to solve these problems. Let's get started with something simple. 9 divided by 4. Just as we've seen in our previous video, we want to write out the problem like this, and you'll see why as we start dividing bigger and bigger numbers why this format is better. Just as before, when we were solving our division problems, the first question you want to ask yourself is, 4 times what number is going to give me 9? Or get me as close as possible to the number 9. So let's start at the beginning of our 4's times table and work our way up. So 4 times 1 is going to give us 4. Remember, we're trying to go all the way up to 9 or as close as possible, so we want to continue till we get there. So 4 times 2 is 8. We're still not at 9, so let's try one more time. 4 times 3 is going to give us 12, but that's too much, so we have a bit of a problem because 4 times 2 equals 8, and that's not enough because we want 9. But at the same time, 4 times 3 is 12, which is too much, so we have to do the following in this case. We have to ask ourselves, how many times can 4 go into 9 without surpassing the number 9? And as we seen a moment ago, when we were doing our 4's times table, in order to determine 4 times what number gets us closest to 9, we saw that 4 times 2 gives us 8. So our answer is 2. 4 goes into 9 2 times. Great. But there is one more step we have to do in order to check that this is the correct answer and if there's a remainder or not. So we do just as we did at the end of our previous video. We check with multiplication and subtraction by asking ourselves, 2 times 4 equals 8. We place that 8 under our 9 and we subtract. 9 minus 8 equals 1. And this tells us we have a remainder of 1. And before we always had a remainder of 0 down here, so we left it alone since 0 has no value. But since we now have a 1, we simply write our final answer like this up here next to our 2. We add a small r that stands for remainder and we put the 1 after. So our answer is 2 remainder 1. And to take it a step forward, I would like to quickly bring back our blue circles so I can visually show you what's going on. So here, we have 9 circles, and as we learned before, when we say 9 divided by 4, we want to find out how many groups of 4 in 9. So let's count 4 and add this green line to divide our first group. And let's count 4 more and add another green line. And as you can see, we have 2 groups of 4 and a remainder of 1 at the end. I know that may be a lot to take in, but that's one of the many benefits of a course like this. You can rewind and watch it a few times, helping you understand things better each time. Plus, we will be doing a few more problems like this in order to help you better understand dividing with a remainder. For our next problem, let's take a look at 13 divided by 2. Again, the first thing we need to ask ourselves is 2 times what number is going to give me 13, or get me as close as possible to 13 without surpassing or going over the number 13. If you're still learning your times table, the best way to approach this is by starting at the beginning of the 2's times table and working your way up. So let's do that. 2 times 1 equals 2. 2 times 2 equals 4. 2 times 3 equals 6. And as you can see, as we go up in our times table, the closer we get to 13. So let's continue. 2 times 4 equals 8. 2 times 5 equals 10. 2 times 6 equals 12. Almost 13, but still not quite there. So let's try once more. 2 times 7 equals 14. And As you can see, we surpassed the number 13, so we go back to the nearest multiple of 2 that gets us the closest to 13, which is 2 times 6, which gives us 12. So our answer is 6. And for our final step, in order to see if there's any remainder, we check our problem by saying 6 times 2 equals 12. We place that 12 under our 13 and we subtract 13 minus 12. So 3 minus 2 equals 1. And 1 minus 1 is 0, and we have a remainder of 1. So we put our small r, that stands for remainder, at the top with our 6, and we place our 1 after the r since that's our remainder. Great. As you can see, once you practice solving any type of problem a few times, whether it's addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division, it just becomes easier and easier after you do it a few times, and it's the same with any type of problem in math. So let's reinforce what we just learned by doing one more problem before we move on to our next video, which is where we will be looking at a lot of practice problems in division. So for our last problem, let's take a look at 27 divided by 7. Again, the first question you want to ask yourself is 7 times what number is going to give me 27, or get me as close as possible to the number 27? So let's start at the beginning of our 7's times table and work our way up. 7 times 1 is going to give us 7. 7 times 2 is going to give us 14. 7 times 3 is 21. We're closer to 27, but not quite there. So let's try once more. 7 times 4 equals 27. As we can see, 7 times 4 is too much because it surpasses 27. So let's go back to the next closest multiple, which is 3, and we want to place that up top, and now we check to see if there is any remainder by saying 3 times 7 is 21. We place that number under our 27 and we subtract. So 7 minus 1 equals 6. Next, 2 minus 2 equals 0. And we have our final answer, which is 3 remainder 6. Great. This concludes this video on division with remainder. In our next video, we'll be doing a lot of division problems so you can get the hang of dividing 2, 3, and 4-digit numbers. So let's see how we can get that done. See you there.